Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Engineer.tf map review series 2.0. This week we're on Vigil RC9. It's our last time we did a Vigil, I think it was RC5 or 7 or something. But not much has changed a lot since then, to be honest. There's some things on last, but we will be going over this again, anyways, with me on camera, with Painseer on our host. He is our host, as well as
Hello.
our guest June today. Hello, guys.
Whoa, I'm a guest?
Yes, you
Whoa.
are. You're a guest, June.
Wow.
All right. So, much like what we tried to do for Upward, I think it's probably best to go completely on offense first here. Start talking about what you're going to do point by point, and then we'll switch over to defense and kind of probably spend a bit more time there, I imagine.
Hell yeah.
Um, so let's start talking about first in general. Where are you placing on your telly, and what are you just essentially trying to do here on first?
Well, okay, well, usually I place my recap factelli, which you should have seen the other video of how to do. I'll do it right around the left here. Make sure this is up, because this is a pretty important thing to get up right at the start. I'll start pushing cart, and usually for first and second of offense on Vigil, I actually run pistol. And one of the biggest reasons for consistent spy checking, not just having to consistently just always use my shotgun, and also I can just take DM fights better, so I'll usually pistol around, check around his corners. I'll put it like a dispenser here sometimes, but this dispenser really doesn't fucking do anything. It's kind of worthless, but might as well place it, huh? And then I'll keep I'll keep pushing cart. After holding more aggressively, I'll hide behind cart or maybe like edge a little and wait for my combo to get more aggressive through flank. And then once my combo gets aggressive through flank, I'll start pushing cart more aggressively. And then also always be looking behind. There's no reason not to spy check on this point because you're majority of times you're almost never taking like an active fight that you have to look forward for. Like 9 times out of 10, nothing's really going to be fighting at you. The only thing that's really going to go for you at all would be a spy. And even if he's not going for you, you might as well like just check because it's like a free spy kill is very important when pushing into second. Like that's actually a very helpful thing to get. So you might as well just keep checking. And then you can also pester the gun a little with the pistol if the gun's forward. Make sure not to int the sniper. One of the biggest things up on fucking offense NG, you don't want to int. Nowadays, you should be playing to your life a lot. As you
Are,
push the cart.
are you
Yeah.
ever like trying to pick up on hill or anything, or is like you are you strictly just sitting on car for the entirety of first?
Well, if it's like downtime, like my combo's not getting through flank and they're holding very, they're being aggressive, and my sniper wants to peek forward on hill, he should be flank. But if he's not flank, then I'll just sit on him right here. But optimally, he's flank, and I don't have to fucking touch this area. But I mean, occasionally I'll like maybe put a mini up here or something. Maybe like try and pester a little. But there's really no purpose in really playing around this hill. It doesn't really do very much. At 2010, because your combo's gonna be hard pressuring through flank, and if you try and peek hill, you just eat shit like a million different things. Like a heavy could be sitting on his head glitch, their demo could be spamming at you, their sniper could be hard scoping the angle, like shit
Mhm.
like that. It's just no reason to int.
No, but I agree, and I think out of all the first points, offense NG doesn't really do. I want to say do much on this point, other than just simply sit on the card.
You
Just
sit in the
because
cart,
there's
you spy check, and you exist.
So I want to very quickly start talking about second tier because here we have a little bit more. So let's say the cards here. Let's just assume everything is kind of even here. Um,
well,
what are you trying to generally do here? You typically sitting in main, or are you focusing on hill?
before I cap second, I'll usually slap my telly down here, and put my dispenser around its general area. I usually put it more around tunnel, but run hill's fine too. And I'll push the cart up to main tunnel, and I usually run pistol for this point as well. I'll push the cart or main tunnel, and then right here, this is where abandoned tunnel. Tunnel becomes fucking like the floor is lava because this shit's it's rancid on NG. It doesn't do anything. You're worthless here. Like once you get the cart up to main tunnel, there's really like no reason to just sit in there do nothing. If anyway, the only reason you will ever sit in here and maybe to cover your flank a little and just passively watch main tunnel. But otherwise than that, you don't really want to aggress from main tunnel unless your team has add and they're pushing across hill. Because usually it's just a death trap. Like you peek main tunnel, and you eat shit and die. The only reason you get some stuff from playing in tunnel is just people like inting into you for no real reason. Generally speaking, like once you get to main tunnel, it's kind of the same thing as upward. We don't really want to linger in here. So once I get main tunnel, usually I will rotate up to hill and have a mini and cover for spy. Because the thing about pushing hill is that both your pyro and scout are like preoccupied of looking forward. So it's hard for either of them to actually look behind, which is usually one or the other is looking behind. So in that case, I'll be the person that's looking behind. And you'd ask, oh, why not heavy? But heavy can go side tunnel with your soldier and do a lot more than you can do by going side tunnel with your soldier, and he can cover spies about as well as your heavy can. So you just go across the hill and you play passive and cover for spies and shit, and sit on your sniper. That's depending on what type of pushes you do. Another push that's really nice on Enchi is when your combo goes through tunnel. They take the exchange through tunnel, and then for the post, your sniper and your soldier just flood through hill, and then your soldier bombs across hill. You put a mini here, and you spy check on your sniper, and you can aggress across hill as well. And then your sniper just peeks across hill. Is my favorite thing to do on NG. I really like that my teams push tunnel because of this reason, because you get to do a lot more in these situations. Like sitting in tunnel is just so bad on NG. Like 9 times out of 10.
To go back to talking about tunnel here, I know you said you typically don't ever want to cross the story, and don't get me wrong, I think that's true. Do you have any specific spots where you do want to place like your midi sentry when you're trying to take a fight down here?
If I'm just trying to hold it down, like for a little bit, like because my combo wants to push hill or something, I'll put my mini right there, like right in the middle, and just go so cover side tunnel and covers people peeking main tunnel as well. If let's say my team's going for a sack, and I'm just waiting here and just trying to live so with my medic, I put my mini really passive here, so it denies them if they're trying to run in through tunnel and get really aggressive after the sack wave. Um, occasionally, if one of my players really wants to play side tunnel, I'll support them. Or if I see like a heavy forward here, I'll just ram myself into him and just trade up for him with like my soldier here or something. Because those are only times, usually 9 times out of 10, I don't really want to just sit in tunnel. It's just really bad.
Yeah, and you'll never like take that side tunnel exchange by yourself. Like that's always gonna be with some.
Yeah, if you're taking it by yourself, you're just feeding 9 times out of 10. I really don't ever recommend taking that by yourself.
Mhm.
Your biggest utility on this point is as a spy checker and sitting on your sniper, and then you can walk across hill and actually like do something. Like this is where you can genuinely do something while being aggressive, because this mini covers a lot. You can be very aggressive. You have high ground. Like this hill area is like a scout's dream, and you're like a shitty scout, so it's like an NG like pseudo dream. This is one of the reasons I have pistol as well, because like being able to have extra DM for this hill fight is really nice.
Um, so let's start talking about moving over onto third here, because there's going to be, I think, probably two main ways an engineer is going to play, either on tracks or on flank. Um, once you're going from second to third, um, do you have a typical preference of where you wanted to go or what you're wanting to do?
Well, usually I drop down after the hill fight is won. I'll put my tele to spawn. I'll push my cart. Spy check. Occasionally taunt if the spy is dead, and then I'll put my tele right here just because I'm not, just so I don't have to get off cart, and I'll just keep pushing cart. I'll put my dispenser here because I see a lot of newer NGs do this where they'll put the dispenser here, and it's like, oh, this is a perfect spot to eat shit and die if they want to walk forward in any way possible. So you might as well you probably want to put a lot more passive so they don't eat shit and die while trying to use the dispenser. And usually, I'd say
Mhm.
I prefer playing main. I prefer being the one, the only people here, because I'd say the ideal way that most invite teams should or do, or rather should push third, is they send their combo through flank. Like they send their combo through flank. They they have their combo, like their demo, their scout, maybe their pyro, like exchange through ladder, and then their heavy and sniper will sit around here and start pushing from here. You can also have your heavy play drop down. Your pyro just sits around here for your sniper. Just make sure somebody's sitting around your sniper. This works a lot better in the main pushes 9 times out of 10 for a lot of different reasons. Because you can meet them on even ground, you get your sniper set up, etc., etc. So the reason why I like playing main is because somebody has to be main, and it's best for the most useless class to be in main. Because all I really have to do is hold here, like live, spy check, and then push the cart when our team went in the post. I'll push the cart and I'll put my mini aggressive like right here, and I can wrangle and push the cart, or I can just put it right here and play more aggressively and just fight the cart like this, stuff like that. Also, at this point, I prefer Wrangler over pistol.
Is there at any point during a push on third that you would come over here onto the flank? And let's say like take this aggressive mini or just be the kind of person that sits over behind your sniper out here?
If my
Or
combo is being bums, that's why I'll do it. Cause you should never really your combo should never push through main unless you have ad or you're like rolling through second. Like you just wipe their defense on second and you just keep fucking rolling and you go through main. Either that or you have ad coming into this and you're just walking around this corner with like a scout demo and just running at them. But otherwise, like if you're forced to be on a flank, there's more. You shouldn't have to be forced into position. Now, if you are forced into position, yeah, play on your sniper, just do normal flank things, but you shouldn't have to be here. Is more my thing.
okay. To just keep the ball rolling here, let's start talking about last on offense. Obviously, once we get up here, it's probably going to be your best time to actually come back and place your entrance. But um,
Uh,
where are you typically going for your push into last as NG?
I'll push cart, push cart, push cart. Usually, I'll place my
Mm-hmm.
after I push my cart up to this choke. I'll put my teleporter around here, around this general area. Like anywhere around here, I think is fine. I haven't really found like a telescope. I'm like, man, this is fantastic. As long as it's in this position, I don't really care. You can put them more forward if you really wanna, but that's it. That's if your red room players are like super aggressive and consistently keeping the space down. Um, and then I'll have my dispenser here, and then I'll have my mini around this main area. And guess you do kind of the same thing on last as you do on third, as in you just sit in main, you live, you spy check, and you watch your sniper if he wants to peek through main, and then once your team exchanges the Ubers and the Ubers are over, you peek through his tracks and you start wrangling at people and you push cart. Now this is a point where I definitely say you should run Wrangler over pistol, because pistol the DM fights aren't you're not really taking as many DM fights, and wrangling here is very much more impactful than pistoling people.
And much akin to like third, there's like little to no time you'll ever come over here to like let's say big door or the flank side. You're
You
almost
can
always
do
sitting
that.
in. You're almost always sitting in main.
It's the same case where if your team has ad or they're rolling through third, they should go main. So in which case you're just pushing cart anyways. But if your team is going main for their pushes, they're fundamentally doing something wrong. So yeah, you can play flank, and you just do basic anything. You sit here, you watch your sniper, and you can ingress when the spy and soldier are dead. But you shouldn't have to be forced to be in this position. If you're forced to be in this position, your team is playing individual incorrectly. Like they're not doing what they should be doing, usually speaking. Like,
Ju-
because what should generally be happening is one of your combo members, like your pyro or something, sits around your sniper when he's peeking big door, and then your combo clears his flank, and then they can do one of two things: they either Uber straight through big door after they killed the gun, or they just straight up Uber through the flank like this, and then after that the exchanges happen. After the exchange is over, then you can peek through main and be aggressive as your red room players, like your soldier heavy peek through red room, because you want somebody being main, and it can't. And any other class does any other situation so much better than you can. So you being in main is usually the best option. Usually you're by yourself, so you want to play it passive and play your life and just spy check. It's pretty simple.
I want to get your opinion on level guns on last because it's a very common thing on a payload lasts. Is this a good map to do so? And if so, do you have any good strategies or good positions for a level gun?
Uh, I think level guns are okay on this map, but I personally, I don't really like it as much on like Swiftwater. Like, I think Swiftwater is super necessary. Upward, it's decent on upward. This map, I'm very meh on it. The reason why I say I'm very meh on it is just because a couple things. I feel like the fights are more scrappy on this last compared to like the other two lasts, where like sometimes you're not really in a range to do any like genuine damage to any classes. Where on this last, you can fight people and you can have and slapping up minis can genuinely be important, and you're in range to like shotgun people for 50, 60 damage. You can like you can do aggressive things with your like own body is the thing. So in that situation, I value leveled guns less, just because I feel like I can just do more of the extra health and having more minis and just being able to be more scrappy. Because I feel like Vigil last turns into big scrap DM fights, and having the mini can be very very impactful for that. And the level of gun too is that um, so if other maps, main is more heavily guarded, but main on Vigil offense is like just a single NG. So if they see you have a leveled gun, it's very easy for them to collapse on you, usually speaking. So I like being able to be more mobile with that. It's decent though. I don't think it's bad, especially if your team is like forcing you to play flank. I think level guns are actually pretty solid there. Because literally the main thing you do in flank is you just sit here and make sure no one's like walking into your sniper. So having a level gun here is pretty powerful for that. And then you can just drop it down to big door, and this could be a very strong spot. But if you're playing main, like how generally like most teams do it now in invite, and how most teams should be doing it, I don't think level guns are all that great. Not terrible though. They're definitely an option, is what I'd say.
Okay. I think those are all the kind of big topic points that we covered, at least as far as offense is concerned. Do you have anything else that you want to at least mention on for offense, NG, before we switch over to defense?
Yeah, play your life, but don't pay as in go in for the exchanges, but you should be consistently playing to live. You're like the janitor. You spy check. You do everything your team doesn't want to do. There's a common misconception that you need to be like consistently sacking for cart, and nowadays that just you really shouldn't do that. Like you can tap in and like surf away, but if you're like sacking your life for it, you're like wasting your team's time by being down an extra body.
Oh.
That's one of the biggest misconceptions on payloads is and just
Mhm.
like perma into on offense. It's really really bad.
I think it's probably best to if we start talking about defense now. I think where else to start other than just your rollout? Do you want to take us through how you're generally doing your rollout for defense?
Sure, sure. Well, generally I aim to I aim to get a level 3 gun, obviously. I put my dispenser around this area. Usually it's level 3, but my rollout got cut out short.
Mhm.
And then I always get a teleporter exit around just here, just for
Just
my heavy occasionally. He only ever really takes it for post fights, but I mean it's useful to have it there. No reason not to have it there. And usually this is one big thing. I put my entrance over here. Some engines just don't do this. It's a little derpy because majority of the time your heavy's playing around side tunnel or shutter, so you can't really put your entrance over there and expect him to use it. So you should put it here because it's closest to him. That's just a little tidbit thing. Now,
yeah.
where I usually place my gun is dependent on how my team wants to play it. If my team likes playing a more passive vigil, I'll put it right here because it denies sacks pretty well. I can wrangle at the flank too. I can wrangle at the sniper peeking into our flank. I can wrangle there. I can spy check pretty easily with it. It covers sacks really easily. It covers bombing pretty easily. Like once they land, they just instantly get shredded. And they can't really land on the gun either, so they can't sack for the gun. So it's overall pretty solid. The one thing I'd worry about is the spy declicking right here. But I mean usually it's just, that's being covered by my pyro or something, so I'm not like intensely scared about it. Now, if my team wants to play more aggressive on first, I'll generally put my gun around here, just because I can support their aggression. I can wrangle into flank. I can wrangle into main. I can wrangle cliff. Yada yada yada. That's gonna. It's a fun gun to use every now and again, but your team has to be like pretty forward for it to work. Generally, you don't really want to use this gun unless your team's like. You never want to have a gun that's in front of the entire team. Your gun should always be behind your team. It should be your backbone, essentially. And last but not least, this is my favorite gun. And yes, this is not bad. You just can't do it every now and again. You just can't do it all the time. You do it every now and
Yep.
again, especially if you know their team not a very fast team to sack. Is I'll put it here. The reason why I put it here is because the majority of teams, what they do if they're combo on first is they'll send their entire combo through flank and clear everything out. So they clear the scout, clear the sniper. I mean, clear the scout, clear the soldier, clear the snipers that might be in here, and then they'll take their own sniper through far flank and try to peek them from this angle aggressively. So when I put my gun there, it kind of catches them out because they're trying to clear it out. They're not paying attention to anything, and then they just get instantly shredded and die.
And you're
um,
and just to clarify, you're not staying with your gun in that space usually.
oh,
You're normally back here with the rescue ranger for most of that, right?
yeah, yeah, no way in hell I'm staying there.
Mhm.
Of course, I'm changing my gun back. I always count spy time usually. Another thing you can do is some invite teams do this too, and you can have your spy like bait people into the gun, which is very silly, but it does work. Um, Usually after like 10 seconds or so, you want to start pulling it though, because you don't want your spy to sap it, and then they instantly stack after that because you just don't have a fucking gun.
Mhm.
It's-
So, and just for one more side tangent here, while we're still on the point of first, there's I have seen some teams want to put their gun here, kind of down here and sitting in tunnel. Do you typically just want to stick it back hill, or do you just there's a gun there? You don't want to touch tunnel at all with your gun, right? You would typically want
I
to keep
think
it towards hill.
I think this is a little derpy, but I don't think it's terrible. But I think putting it right here is terrible. I think putting it to the left and putting it around this point is honestly fine. if depending on how your team wants to hold. Like if your team's holding like playing around this gun, this is completely acceptable. Because you can still wrangle through main, you can still wrangle through flank. What Spamfest would do actually when she would use this gun is she would have a teleporter here back to her spawn, so she could just pull it back out and just go to spawn really easily.
Mhm.
But this is like more vulnerable to spy than over here. It's more aggressive, way easier to sack onto, and also like usually I'd say your heavy should just play around. Like your heavy can just play around there and then back up to over here, and he does the job like a lot better than really you do, and it's a lot less risky for him. And he's usually gonna be playing tunnel anyways, so I don't know. I don't think it's a terrible spot, but I don't think it's something you should be doing unless your
Okay.
team's like really relying on playing around it, which that's okay then I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's start talking about second hole because I think this is probably the biggest point that a lot of teams will get a lot of time out of. Um, there's really only one decent spot that you would typically put your gun. Wouldn't you agree on the porch?
I disagree. I mean, there's a lot of variation on that spot,
Yeah,
rather.
there is. There is, but in general, this porch is like king on this point, is it not?
No, I disagree. I think just more spots. I'll show you later. So I pull my gun. I usually want the first ones to back up. I never want to be the absolute first. I want people to cover me. And then usually for the sack, for like right when I start the second, I'll put my gun right here. And yes, oh, it's just a porch spot, but no, it's a specific spot. And the reason why I put it right around far to the right is because I'm expecting them to sack across hill. And it's also a lot harder for their spy to get an easy sap on it, because the spy can walk through tunnel and sap it really easily through, and I can't really do very much about that unless I drop down and try and fight him directly, and it's easier to sack onto me. So from here, he has to sack. He has to sap the gun from this position, which is very easy to deny, or he has to sap the gun through. He has to walk through a house like this, which again, it's very easy for my pyro and shit to spot. Like this is a very easy thing for me or my pyro to spot. Very, and this covers hill better. It covers people walking across more as well. Um, and usually you have other players spotting tunnel anyways, like your scout or something, so you don't really have to have extra things dealing with it. So I personally prefer keeping it more to the right for the sack waves. Oh, also I forgot one thing. The reason why I put my dispenser that far back, by the way, is it can jump up and grab like the. Oh, I fucked up the positioning a little bit, but if you put it like all the way far back, you can jump up and grab your dispenser, like from the rock, which you don't have to do, but it's helpful.
It helps save a
Uh,
lot because the dispenser's really nice on this point, especially for your medic
no,
sitting here.
you should always save your dispenser. I just mean you don't have to do it from the specific way I was doing it. But anyways, sometimes I put my gun more towards, and then after the sack siege, I'll put my gun more towards the left, because yeah, even though spike can tap easier, on my teams I'm usually more prioritized towards denying the cart, and my combo more prioritizes like denying hill. So in that situation, I want to be able to have my gun in a position where it'll shoot tracks a lot more actively, and I can just like fight around tracks with my shotgun and stuff, because I'm almost always running shotgun on this point. I run a Ranger for first, but every other point I'm running shotgun or Frontier Justice. Um, Also, if you're gonna run Rescue Ranger, by the way, you should stay around here. This is the best spot for Rescue Ranger.
Oh, just up
So,
area? Yeah.
yeah, because you can't get. It's really hard for you to get sniped. You can spot spies very easily. You can bolt your gun. You can back into safety very easily as well. If you're gonna use Rescue Ranger, you should stand there.
And correct me if I'm
But
wrong, the only way the spy can get up there is by standing on your gun, correct?
yeah,
Otherwise,
or
they
he
have
jumps
to,
up through the
yeah, they're
rocks
just on
area.
like weird parkour to get up here.
Yeah,
So it's
very
also
easy
very,
to
it's a
spot
very
that.
easy spot way to spot it.
Yeah, I'm generally not on Rescue Ranger though, so I'll be playing more around here, like playing more shooting people, fighting people directly. Uh, Running my shotgun, I'd say it's still important at this point, even though you don't have to run it. Like I see Spamfest run a Rescue Ranger, and it's not bad. But the reason why I'd say, personally for me, I much prefer shotgun is collapses on hill are very important in post fights, and being able to actively fight like a scout or an NG coming through tunnel is actually very nice. Like it's especially if your gun dies, it's very nice to be able to just fight things. And also guarding your sniper as he's peeking tunnel, you're one of the main players that can actually guard him as he's peeking tunnel, and not like because like a scout can guard him as he's peeking tunnel, but scout's one of the best classes on hill. Like scout does amazing shit on hill, so you don't really want to force your scout into a position where he's consistently playing around this position because he can do so much more. While you don't really do much more, so you can just sit around here and spy check really easily. And
Is there at any point where you don't want to put your gun here on porch? Because I have seen some debate putting it here in shutter or putting it down here on tracks.
I
Like,
think Shutter is awful, and the reason why I think Shutter is awful. It depends on the team, but I think 9 times out of 10 Shutter is pretty bad because either you get left alone in Shutter and you're not really covering very much, they just rush you and kill you, or your entire combo's flooding through here, and in which case who you have no one covering tracks, and you're one of the main class that should be covering around tracks. Like I think Shutter's not like horrible or anything. I can see a niche situations where maybe I'd pull it up, but 9 times out of 10, I'm not. I don't think it's very good.
Mhm.
And then usually I will put my gun around tracks if the cart gets pretty close, like around here. So if I'll put my gun around tracks, and especially with shotgun, it's very very effective. I can just actively fight things a lot. I can spy check. It can just be really aggressive. It's really nice and deny cart like my purely my body and my gun, and you feel very powerful in this position. That's what I'll say. But in this position, you're centering your entire life around the cart. You're not worrying yourself about hill. You have to trust your demo. You have to trust your scout. You have to trust your sniper to be able to deny hill well.
Yeah, because this sight line here can be very tricky, especially if you're playing on point.
If you play more to the right, you don't really have to worry about it as much. You just keep your
Well,
gun around here and you play more to the right.
they can still pick your
But
gun.
yeah,
This sight line, you can see it when they're sitting on porch too. It's something that you have to keep in mind when you're playing this.
well,
This
you
point in
stand around the
general.
stairs. This is what you do,
Yep.
and then you can progress the stairs and progress from the far right. I like hugging the wall; it makes it easier. And when a sniper is dead too, or a sniper is being like, dealt with, you can just play around more towards the left and shoot people more in cart.
I say let's start talking about backing out the third.
Okay.
Normally, I think in most scenarios your gun is down in most of this case.
Then yeah, gun stying for sure.
Um, but let's just say either way, is there a specific route you go from backing out from second into third?
Nine
Just
times out of ten, I'll go through tracks because usually my team will call to refight, and I'll put my gun here for like a passive refight.
Mhm.
Like and if the refight doesn't work, if the refight does work, I'll move more forward. But if the refight doesn't work, I'll just leave it there. Blah blah whatever. I'll run back to a third, and then I'll usually run back through tracks and let me pull my gun out. There you go. Run back to third. A couple spots. I usually default to this spot.
right here in the
Basically.
doorway.
Yeah, I also run shotgun at this point. The reason why I default to this point, or that pot spot rather, is because my sniper likes to peek around that area, like because they can peek into flank pretty easily, and I can just deny spy very easily as well. I'm staying around my combo, but I'm still like behind them. Um, it's a decent spot. It's kind of passive. Didn't really deny a whole lot of much. You can wrangle that flank, and you can. And it's hard for the spy to really sap this gun, but I mean, it's not like it didn't do a whole lot, which is why usually like it's really nice if your combo plays aggressive on a third, how they should be rather, like they should be playing really aggressive, like they shouldn't be playing on this corner, they should be playing around, like forward across the corner. So in those situations, the color spots where you can put your gun, you can move it to here, which is I think is old, kind of more of an old meta spot. I don't really like this spot as much. It's kind of easy for it to get sapped, especially nowadays and not really rest ranger meta. Like healing this gun is hard because you have to peek a sightline to heal this gun, and it's also just like it eats damage from literally everywhere, but it forces them to look at it, and it can be a very strong backbone at times. I will say.
Yeah, it's just I think
But
the most vulnerable spot to put a building on this point
mhm.
because that sight
but
line from the front door, pretty much anywhere else.
my favorite gun when it comes to being aggressive is right around right here. Let's put it really forward across across the main area, and just complete like denies main, and my combo can focus more towards just fighting the flank because that's where usually their combo will be, and this gun just completely shoots like just shuts down main. You can't really go through main looking shredded by this thing. It's really nice. And you can also just spy check around here for your sniper as he's peeking across main like this. And you can just, use just a good backbone. Now you have to be careful because your back is towards this drop down area, so you want to be pretty aware of like what's behind you. Half time I will be spy checking, and not only that, we're checking here and spotting here, make sure nothing's going through drop down. Stuff like that. But I mean, otherwise, this is where I most prefer to put my gun if I want to be aggressive, which is good. Which is a really strong thing to do on third defense, because sitting in this corner is how teams eat shit and die at one of the strongest points on the map.
And for the most part, your gun is like focusing here on tracks at the front door. Like
Yeah.
you as the NG, I take it don't really worry too much about the flank with your gun.
No, not really. Unless you play a very specific style that I see a couple engines do. I've mainly only really seen Spamfest do this like consistently, where she'll go minis and fight flank, and it makes sense. It has an idea behind it. It's kind of like Swiftwater Fourth, where you go minis to fight flank, where you're working like you're playing to hard deny the sniper with your body. So you're playing as like another flank member to deny sniper, and also support your sniper as he's peeking flank. Because defense sniper peeking flank can be very powerful. So Um, that's one option you can do. I don't really personally ever do it very often. It relies on this kind of a specific team structure to do it, and you're giving up a leveled gun on this point. And I think leveled guns can be pretty powerful on this point, but it's definitely not bad. Like it's something worth playing around, especially if your sniper wants more support on the flank.
I say let's start talking about backing up out at this point into fourth. Are you trying to often go through spawn, or are you just usually backing out through tracks normally if you're leaving this point?
If I'm backing out through tracks, there's something poverty happening, something horrifically wrong has gone on. If I'm backing out through tracks.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I'll back off the tracks as well. For like, let's say they're getting really aggressive, like they had ad and they wiped our team and they're coming around this corner. I'll go tracks for a refight. Like I'll go tracks and try to refight that point. But if we lose the refight, I'll just run back through tracks. But 9 times 10, I'm not really back out through tracks unless there's like two situations. Usually I'm trying to back out through spawn. You should be able to see like when you're gonna eat shit, when your team's gonna eat shit and lose the point. Oh, also one thing. One of the biggest reasons why I run shotgun at this point is because everyone needs to be able to peek wide and fight this cart. Like this is a very important thing. Everyone needs to be able to peek wide and fight cart, including even you at times. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that real quick. But so for usually I want to back out through shutter for last, and for last when I back out, I usually pre-build my gun right here. Unless I get super hyper aggressive, I'll pre-build it here, just so I can wrangle through main. And it covers sacking all from the left side. If they ever try to sack through main or red room, this covers it. So it's a nice sack. It's a nice sack denying gun.
So this is
It
like
also
kind of
covers.
like your first emergency. Oh God, they're coming after us. Gun spot just to like place it
Yes,
down to shoot stuff.
it used to be a lot better pre like RC9, like RC7 was very good, but they nerfed it. But it still works. Still works decently.
Still not terrible. Where do you typically want to put it where you're holding it? Are you still wanting to put it on this box?
Always crates. Always crates. This is
Hmm.
the goat spot, the greatest of all time spot. So the reason why I want to play crates is because it supports my combo a lot when you're trying to play aggressive through main. Like my combo's like, because normally now nowadays what's happening is your demo's playing around this corner. He's playing to deny big door. You can deny main as well. Your heavy can be either playing hard in the red room with your soldier, or you're playing like in the flank. But and your scouts playing very aggressive. Like, the point is like majority of your team is playing very aggressive, and your sniper's peeking right here. In which case, you want a gun that could support that, and this gun supports wherever they're trying to aggress from, and also denies a lot. Like it denies big door very well, it denies main very well. It doesn't really deny red room that much, but usually your combo can deny red room pretty easily. Like your soldier or heavy, even your demo can deny red room very easily. It's just kind of a small choke. So, and this gun as well, it's a lot of nice spam. If they have to look at this gun, if this gun does not go down in the Uber exchange, they lose the Uber exchange. Like this gun is like a deal breaker. It has to fucking go down. One thing is, he does get shot up by a good couple of angles, but the difference between like third defense like crates and this defense crates is that your combo should be able to actively stuff any angle where it's being shot at from. Like it's very easy. It's a lot easier to support this gun compared to third defense gun. You can support this gun, deny the where it's getting peeked from a lot harder, and you yourself can do a lot of good spam with this gun.
Yeah, because this can watch pretty much anything except for like if they're coming in through flank.
Even then, you have a select. You still
Even
have an
then,
angle.
you have this tiny angle you can shoot through.
No, yeah, there's a lot. It just covers everything. It's just like perfect. The one issue that with the enforcer meta, rather than the enforcer meta, is kind of annoying. But that again just covers if you're combo needing to cover chokes. Like if you're getting shot at by three, the only real issue is when you're getting shot at by three different chokes, and at that point that's just noob diff. You know, your combo being noob. And the other nice thing about this gun is that there's a couple tricks you can do with it. Since you're like standing on top of a building, if you stand like right here, if the sniper is dead but the spy is alive, the spy cannot stab you if you're standing here. So essentially, the spy can't really do anything about this. Just sap your gun, and you can usually like rock it down and spy check where pretty easily where he wants to decloak. And if the sniper is alive but the spy is dead, you can just stand behind your gun. You're basically invincible from the sniper. You have to stand directly behind it, of course. You can't stand like to the left behind it, because then you'll get sniped, but like, you'll get body shot. Usually you should get a buff though. One really important thing is last NG needs to get buffs like consistently. It's kind of like similar to how White Sniper needs to get buffed consistently.
And you typically play with your dispenser behind here too, right? You don't typically want to put it over here or over in the other corner on the platform.
Yeah, I always put it here because it makes it easier actually to jump up here. And usually I do not want my combo sitting there, or especially there. Sitting right is horrid.
Hmm.
So I will usually put it right here, so they back up to get some ammo and then they come back in. I don't want them ever like sitting in like one of these corners. And yeah,
uh,
you can go. You can go.
no. It for rebuilding this gun, because I think this is a big topic I wanted to talk about for this point. Will you typically rebuild it on top of the box, like say during a fight or like after a push, or do you have other preferences?
Usually I'll rebuild it, like either rebuild it right here, but if I need to be aggressive, I'll rebuild it towards the left. Cause this spot's pretty good in chaos fights. I really like this spot for mini sentries. Like I don't really use this spot for leveled guns very often, but whenever I'm in a mini sentry, I'll usually put it around his left because it's just very powerful for chaos fights. It's kind of hard to like look at and then also look at your combo as well, and just I don't know, it's just strong. You can wrangle the big door very aggressively too, but it gets peeked at by sniper very easily. That's why I don't like put my body there. I just put my mini there. Usually I will just rebuild it right there or there. Occasionally I'll rebuild it crates if you have enough space. Like if I know for a fact, like if I can see the situation and my combo is like right here and their combo is like right here, like I can rebuild the gun in crates. Like if I see that my combo is actually fighting them as they're like right around that position, I will just build it crates because at that point they can't really contest it. And if they're looking at my gun, then they're eating shit to my combo. So whatever.
And there's like fairly rarely ever any other spot that you would like deviate from this box spot. Because it's like
Yes.
the box is just that powerful.
I think box is I think box is one of the best spots in for defense on NG. This is one other spot you can maybe use. I was theorizing about this in the early update because it covers main and red room very powerfully, but it doesn't really cover big door at all, and it's really easy for him to run through flank and kill it. So I don't really use this gun at all. I almost always just use the Chris gun.
Well, I think that covers all the big topic points I wanted to talk about, at least when it comes to Vigil. Is there anything else you wanted to mention, either on defense or offense, that we didn't talk about as we're wrapping up here?
I've seen a couple of derpies put their gun here. I'm talking about U Starfruit 66, and it's not horrific, but I think it's pretty bad. I think it's just a straight up worse version than crates, so I say just put it crates. A couple things that just prioritize living. Like you can realistically have like 0 or like one death on this map, like on defense. It's a pretty strong payload map for NG. But one thing is, even though you're living, you don't want to be beating for the fights. When your colleague collapses, you are also a body. Especially if you're running shotgun, you are a body. If your team is collapsing, if your team is refighting, you need to be not in front of them. You never want to be in front of them, but you want to be directly right behind them, fighting with them. If need be, you can take like a bit of beam too. Like you can take a buff, stuff like that. I think one of the biggest things that NGs don't remember to get crit heals enough on defense, especially. It's very impactful to get consistent buffs. And I don't know, just don't be stupid. That's about it, really. Minis are also decent on last if you want to play more aggressive on the flank. I wouldn't really perma run minis or anything. I'm just saying, like, if you have like a big chaos thing and you're stuck on minis for a couple minutes, like, you can play more on the flank and stuff, and it works fine. I usually put my mini right here, and I put my body more on the right side.
Well, I appreciate you coming out here, June, talking about Vigil with us.
Yeah. And thanks everyone else for joining us for this week's episode of our map review series. Join us next week. We will be going over the new map. I believe it's Fruit, which is going to be very interesting, seeing as it's a new map. Probably be a little bit longer than normal just because of how new it is and general things we have to go over. So maybe less of a map review and more of a general overview than a map review. But stay tuned for that next week, and thank you all for joining.